This is number 19, and I'm trying to cover the last 100 very quickly. Again, they're all starting to look the same. I'll try to compress all these into about 15 minutes and go through the best pictures of Tycho and mare moscoviense. Here we've got two towers actually, and there's a courtyard around it. See the fine white lines. These are about 50 meters. That's about 110 meters, those large ones. Again, it doesn't resemble human construction. Can we assume we still have aliens living there? Were these the ones that crashed in Roswell? And is this their base? Oh. And if that's the case, they haven't interfered much with our history. They haven't landed here visibly and scared us, you know, a few hundred years ago when their craft could have taken control of the Earth's history. Actually, I'll just zoom into one here. That was a very interesting one. Yep, you've got larger ones, larger rod towers. One's in the middle and one's on the edge. This is very interesting. You've got the rods outside, also around the edges. Very luminous, as though they're actually emitting light rather than just reflecting sunlight. Here we have 2 or 3 surrounded by a square area as well. They're all around the place. They're about 80, those small ones are about 50, which is still fairly tall. They're not just specks, they're about 15 stories. Again, I have to repeat, those things that look like specks here are actually very large on the ground. Here we go. This is very interesting. We've got areas of excavation around it. Shadows. Some have light green areas around it. Some are in more dense vegetation areas. That has bright white walls around it again, like the others. There's about 4 there. And it shows their individual courtyards as well. It's swarming with all sorts of buildings and all sorts of configurations here on the ground. Literally jam-packed. Every square a mile, or every square kilometre down here on the ground is all fully populated. These are very interesting structures. That shows all the rod structures as well. Courtyards, greenery. More here. Again, I just can't get over the fact of how much there is. So if there's any chance this was human in form, and we've only had a chance to land there 30-40 years ago without anyone being told, I think this is too much here to be built by humans. It's just too much. There's hundreds of thousands, literally. If there are our constructions, again, I don't see any evidence of roads or bulldozers or anything like that. Here's some very interesting ones on the side of that crater sticking out. The other thing we have to think of, are these just natural crystals that could have formed in these areas of the moon. But then why would they have these square excavations around them? So that sort of throws that theory out when I see perfect walls and excavations which are square or rectangular happening. It just wouldn't be natural crystalline formations. So the question is, what type of alien types are these? Are these the Greys or the Nordics? Alex Collier believes they're of Aryan born, so they're the actual Nordics, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed. But the ones that crashed in Roswell were meant to be Greys, which were shorter. Well, the other theory was they actually were very short Japanese pilots, and this was a secret test craft that actually crashed. And that area in Roswell is obviously close to the other areas of New Mexico, where they had all sorts of test craft and experiments at that stage. So it's a strange coincidence that it happened in that area. That's a very interesting one as well. As I said, we're just trying to zoom in a lot quicker. This is very heavily populated as well. Here we have evidence of all the towers around the crater, and that's a very interesting one as well. We've got a very large tower coming out of here. It's 100 meters tall, so that's about 30 stories or 40 stories. They're not small by any means. There's a whole group there coming out of the crater. So these could be inhabited by many aliens. That's interesting. Rod-like configuration. Zigzag type of interconnecting rods. Again, the whole area is surrounded with rods. I haven't read anywhere any further information on how these were constructed, who lives there, the estimate of the population. All I keep reading is on the far side of the moon there's a joint American-Russian base, and this was created with a UFO treaty in '54, I think, with the Greys, and that we also inhabit this area with the Greys. How we arrived there, I don't know, because I don't see any evidence of any landing crafts or similar structures from Earth or any runways. So the only other YouTube articles that I've seen on these areas only point out to the facts of bright little white spots in craters. They haven't zoomed in on the ground to this extent that I have, and actually talked about the various structures and courtyards around them and square excavations and things like that. So when I started, I just couldn't stop. I just couldn't understand how there could be anything of this magnitude actually inhabiting the far side of the moon. And again, I must repeat, this is only a small area of what we can see on the moon. The rest has been censored by NASA, telling us they can't have higher resolution than less than 2 kilometers. Here we go, it's a very thick area there. And the same happens on Mars as well. We can't see anything on the ground. These are very bright rod constructions, and again around the edges I see them as well. Here we go again here as well, and also internally. Internal with excavations. I assume the only people who would have now reached video 19 are those that are interested in these structures, because up to now it's all getting very monotonous. They all seem to look the same. We haven't found anything new. It's a very dark green area there. It's a very nice construction. These are all rods again, very, very densely packed. All the towers around the edges as well. This area is very packed with towers, very dense. These are all internal.